Okay, so let's try to continue this. Um, so real quick before we get into the point out, um, when Dixon, um, I mean, after finding out, that Dixon's a bad guy, when I started up a new game plus and saw that, saw that little flashback thing when Dixon first discovers Shulk.
Yeah.
The smile on his face was just like the most evil smile. And it's like you don't pick it up the first time because you think Dixon's a good guy, but then the second time it's like, oh man, he has some evil, crazy plans for Shulk.
Yeah, he is he's up to no good. Like, it's like, looking back on it, like, you can definitely tell.
Yeah. But anyway, okay, so the ending. So as you were saying, you're in space up to this point when you fight Zanza. Before that, you fight some ghosts of previous big bosses that you fought. None of which are particularly challenging. In fact, most of them are lower level than Dixon.
Yeah.
But after you beat Zanza, you end up right outside Earth. As in our Earth, I mean, because obviously we were already showing that we were in the same solar system. And you see what is going on inside this space station that's outside of Earth. And you find out that both Zanza and Metanith were actually human beings from Earth who were working in this space station. And they were able to trigger some type of event, or well, Zanza was anyway, able to trigger some type of event that destroyed the entire universe and somehow made them into gods, or what they consider to be gods.
Yeah.
And furthermore, you find out that Alvis is actually the AI from that space station. And so because Zanza has been defeated, the Bionis is going to fall apart. It's no longer of any use to anyone. And so Alvis, the AI, gives Shulk the option to potentially either become a god like Zanza was and rule the Bionis as he wishes. Or, well, I can't remember what the other option was. Maybe you can remember because it's a little more fresh in your memory.
I just remember it was basically like just let whatever may happen. And
yeah, that's right. Yeah. It was, if he didn't decide to become the god, then the Bionis would eventually die and everyone on it would die.
Yeah. And they kind of hint at, as you get to the end, and I guess we'll go ahead and talk about this before we talk about it. So Shulk essentially chooses to just let whatever may happen, just kind of leave it to fate and not rule as a god of Bionis. And so you get to the ending and you see all of the different people working together. And then it turns out that Fiora has in fact gotten her human body back. And so it is in that moment when she's talking with Shulk that he talks about that they're going they acknowledge it, because this is the way I perceived it, that they are going to try to find a way off of it and find a new world, essentially, because he says, look at the sky and look at all of the worlds out there, and he goes, yeah, we're going to go see them. And so it makes me think that maybe that's what the plan is to leave it and find a way off of the Bionis, maybe. I don't know.
I might have to rewatch it, but it seemed like the Bionis was that they actually, somehow in their decision to not have any gods, that the world sort of was recreated. So land was placed on the ocean because you could see Bionis in the ocean off in the distance.
Oh, okay.
Where they were, and now they have actual oceans, which are salt water and everything, and it's kind of looked like it was more of an actual planet structure instead of being, this vast, endless ocean with two giant beings, standing and people living on them.
Yeah, that's true, man. See, like I said, this is probably one of those games where if you go back through the second playthrough, that you'll just realize all of these things that you just missed before. Like that's what really excites me, because gosh, I didn't even notice that. So although that would be a pretty cool thing to wake up to, a little Bionis off in the distance. That's a pretty cool sight to see.
Yeah, and I mean, I liked the fact that they, just kind of made it clear that everything has really changed for everyone. I mean, you see that in Colony 9, you have all different types of people walking around. I mean, it's no longer just Homs. You also have the Machina from Mechonis, and you have Riki's people, the Nopon.
Yeah.
And you have all these different people groups living in harmony together, and it really seems like the world is completely different now, and that things are changed for the better, of course. And there's no longer this endless cycle of death and rebirth, essentially, which is what Zanza had going on before as his own deity of sorts. And with that thing you were pointing out about Fiora having her human body back, when I watched the ending, that was the one thing I really wish they would have explained, because we kind of got the impression from stuff in the main story that she couldn't get her main body back, and that because Mayneth was no longer a part of her, which I guess we never discussed that, but water under the bridge, because Mayneth was no longer inside of her, that her body was going to eventually just die because she had no power source anymore. And did you read that thing I sent you a link to?
Yeah, so explain that to me.
So basically, this is a side story that was written in a Japanese book that came, that could be purchased separately from Xenoblade Chronicles and never got released in the English language. But it had, in addition to a bunch of like concept art and whatnot, it also had some stories that took place after defeating Lorithia, but before going to face Dixon and Zanza. In fact, it might have even been after facing Dixon. I can't remember. But anyway, so you have everyone hanging out at Colony 9, and at one point, Shulk is focused on, trying to find a way to get Fiora's body back. And I guess there was some heart-to-heart where it kind of hinted at the possibility that there might be some way to do it. And so he's researching constantly, trying to figure out, okay, how is it that I'm supposed to get her body back? And at one point, Melia comes looking for him, finds him in the weapons lab where he was always, working on stuff in the past. And he has a vision in which she speaks, and this special area opens up, and in there is a revitalization chamber, which would make it possible to bring back Fiora's body, to restore it, but it would take a long time. But anyway, so this simultaneously answers the question of, how she got her body back, but at the same time, it also explains what the deal is with that ship-like structure that's connected to the Tephra caves that you encounter early on in the game, where they would get the power packs that they used for their mechanical robot things.
Yes.
So it was like I had totally forgotten about that. That they were trying to figure out. There was some ancient technology, they didn't know exactly what it was, and that it was actually developed by the High Telethia, or that's Lethia, Hyentia. Um, yeah,
It's
the
late.
Hyentia. Yeah, exactly. It was developed by the Hyentia, and that because she is the queen now for them, um, by basically saying her name, which is essentially the password, the place opened up. And when Shulk saw it in a vision, he's like, I know where this is. And it's like it's been right next to them all along. And so the story basically says that she goes into, that after they defeat Zanza, she goes into there, and after 6 months she comes out with her original body, reformed, or something to that effect, so she's human again. And yeah, so I thought that was like, okay, I wish that they had been able to find some way to fit this into the real game, even if it was like like a special hidden side story that you could find.
Yeah.
But I think that would have been really neat. And it answered the one question that I had after I completed, after I finished the ending.
Yeah. I would definitely had preferred that they somehow worked that in there. But I can understand why they chose not to, because it is a surprise when
definitely
when you see her with her human body, because like you said, you're given the impression that there is no hope for her. But perhaps they could have, this is hindsight's 2020, but perhaps they could have allowed Shulk to have the vision, and you don't know exactly what it is, but he knows, and then at the end of it, he explains what exactly how it happened. So, but with that being said, the fact that you have that big of a game with that much of a story, and all you're left with is just one question, like that, I'd say that's pretty good job on their part of as far as wrapping everything up. And so yeah, I was really just impressed with it. I wanted to. Is there anything else that story-wise that you wanted to touch on? I don't know if you had anything in your mind that you thought you wanted us to talk about.
I really can't think of much else. It's not. Obviously, we didn't cover every nook and cranny of the story. There's more we could have said about Face Mechon and whatnot, but I really feel like we covered it pretty well, and it was good to finally be able to talk to someone about it, because for months it's been, I'm playing this game, and I know that other people have played the original game, but I just didn't have anyone to talk about it, because like my co-hosts on the podcast don't even own a new 3DS and have never played Xenoblade Chronicles. And so, with such a big game like this, it's like, it's great to know that I can finally talk to someone.
Yeah, for sure. I think you, myself, and Everett Harn are the only ones on staff that have the new 3DS. So we've got to get everybody else on board.
Well, Michael has it too.
Oh, Michael, that's right. Mike did get one.
Yeah,
because he just loves those amiibo. Haha. But I wanted to one last thing. Since Xenoblade Chronicles, there he is, right there, the Shulk amiibo. Man, he looks beautiful. Before we wrap things up, I know that Xenoblade Chronicles X is coming out this year. What's something that you're looking forward to out of that game?
Well, I definitely like the fact that it looks like the battle system is going to be expanded. It's still going to be very, very much the same for the most part. Like they're keeping the same layout of having auto attacks and arts. But I like the fact that it seems like there's going to be a lot more variety to it, and of course, then your character switches to either a melee or a ranged weapon depending on where you are in relation to the enemy.
Yeah. Like you get to shoot a gun. That's crazy. Because Sharla has like a sniper rifle, but you never really get to use it to the effect that you would want to like use a gun in a video game. So
Exactly.
yeah.
And also, I mean, just it looks like the pace is going to be a bit faster for battles, and I mean, not in a bad way, but like the animations were a little sluggish for Chronicles
Yeah.
and so it's like, yeah, I mean, I enjoyed it, but I kind of like the fact that it's going to be smoother animations and everything, and the only thing that is really bugging me still about the look of it is the faces.
Yes, yeah, they look kind of emotionless to me.
Well, it's not so much the emotionless; they just look funky. Like
Okay.
I really think the art direction for Xenoblade Chronicles, that the faces all looked good. I mean,
Yeah.
because they had sort of an anime kind of style to them, but at the same time, they still looked good, even in the 3DS version where the textures were, not as sharp, as detailed. Especially, of course, with the 3D effect turned on, that made a huge difference. But
Yeah.
it's like, I liked the way all the characters looked. Like I didn't think anyone looked ugly that wasn't supposed to look ugly.
Yeah, and I think the one thing that I'm kind of concerned about as well is that it looks like your character doesn't speak,
Yeah.
and I don't know. That's going to maybe that's something I'll get used to, but um, I mean, I think that was the one thing that I liked about Xenoblade is just that you could, I don't know, invest in the first
Mhm.
Xenoblade is that you could just invest in all of the characters and there wasn't any kind of awkward silence or anything like that. So, um, but with that being said, the game looks beautiful. I mean, it looks just like a bigger, more crisp version of Xenoblade Chronicles,
Mhm.
and I'm really excited about it. And it comes out December 8th, I believe,
Fourth.
and oh, the 4th. Okay, that's awesome. Four days earlier, so I just got 4 days happier. Um, and so yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. Are you? Do you have any plans to get the collector's edition, or
I can't remember what comes in the collector's edition,
it?
honestly.
It looked like I mean, it's like a huge box. It looks like it comes with some type of giant robot statue. One of like the thing that you can kind of get inside
Yeah,
the mech armor.
yeah, I'm trying to remember what they're calling. Skells is what they're calling them.
Skulls. That's right.
Short for exoskeleton, I'm
So
guessing.
yeah, so it looks like a little statue of that. So I don't know. I'm gonna I'm
I
gonna.
wasn't sure if they were doing that in the US. I know they're doing that in Europe,
Well,
but
they better. They better.
yeah, I mean, if they do it in the US, I might, but at the same time, like right now, I already have a bunch of amiibo taking up space in front of my TV, and um, I also am not sure I really want to wait for a hard copy to get here.
Yeah.
More likely than not, I'll just stick with digital, especially since I have a 2 terabyte hard drive I bought early this year for my Wii U, just because it was like $10 more than a 1 terabyte, and I
Yeah.
needed the space, and so this way I can play a lot sooner.
Yeah. Okay. Well, man, I can't wait till it comes out, and I'm sure that whenever we finish up with the Xenoblade Chronicles X, that we'll have another spoiler cast.
It'll probably be about a year from now.
Yeah, yeah, probably because it's not handheld, and I won't be able to play it
And yeah, it's a
as
much
much.
bigger game too.
Yeah. So, but either way, looking forward to it. Well, man, I really enjoyed getting to talk to you about Xenoblade Chronicles. It was a blast.
Absolutely.
Felt great to finally do it. Where can people find you on Twitter?
You can find me, of course, at Frozen Gamers, and there's, of course, we have all of the Frozen Gamers podcast episodes are up on our site, frozengamerspodcast.com. And of course, I've also written a number of articles, mostly reviews, but a couple of side editorials for Geeks with Wives. So please check those out, including the review for Xenoblade Chronicles 3D. And obviously, check out everything from my good friend Jeff here, because he is also a great writer and well worth checking out all of his good stuff, including. Is it just you or a couple of people that have been doing the Metal Gear retro respective things?
Okay, so I have not been doing those, but a
Oh, I see.
writer,
Okay.
Chris Dreiling. It's funny story. Like I went to junior high with Chris, and we just kind of like reconnected recently. And so yeah, he's a huge Metal Gear fan, and so he knows the ins and outs. So yeah, he's been making videos and articles every week. This is Metal Gear month, and so Phantom Pain comes out next month, and so we're leading up to that. So yeah, definitely check that out. And you can find me at Gentle Jeffrey. It is the most intimidating name on Twitter. Um, Maybe not, I don't know, but yeah, you can find me there on Twitter. And yeah, so definitely check that out. And then I'll just plug one other thing, which is that we recently had our 200th episode of the Geeks with Wives Games podcast, which is called Press Any Key now. And Mike and Andrew and all the guys there, they do such a great job with that podcast. And so definitely check that out. It was really good. It's a blast. And since we don't have anything else to talk about, Xenoblade and Google Hangout might explode at any moment. We'll go ahead and sign off. So take care. We'll see you later. And we're out.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.